Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's good to be together, even in this format. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Education for February 9th, 2021.
Motion.
Butch with the motion, second.
Second.
Nicole, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion to approve the treasurer's report of January 2021.
Motion.
Segal,
Second.
motion, second. Butch, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve the claims audit report of January 2021.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve statement of paid claims, February 2021.
Motion.
Segal, motion, second.
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 Nicole, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to the capital projects report from Jim O'Byrne. Hi, Jim.
Good evening, everybody. And this is my bond report for March of 2021. On Thursday, March the 4th, there was a Zoom meeting with the district's architect, BBS, and construction management consultants, school construction consultants, to discuss the findings of research done by Municipal Markout Company at Lakeside School. 2 possible dry wells were found, one of which is connected to the 2 catch basins in the driveway of Lakeside. The next step is to unearth the top of each found structure, which are located in a grass area, to determine if they need cleaning out, or if they're connected together, or if they lead someplace else. This will be done over the spring break. The building heating systems are checked daily, as I report. Not connected to the recent bond work, the vacuum condensate return pump at Lakeside recently caused major issues, causing the boiler to go off on low water. This has been repaired. Additionally, the rooftop unit at Chatterton's all-purpose room went off over this past weekend, requiring service. The new addition at Chatterton is being further tuned to provide student and staff comfort in the small teaching spaces. Arrow Windows' latest information regarding window delivery is for less than 2 weeks. Arrow has placed on site a storage pod at Lakeside and Chatterton. At Birch and Lakeside, the classroom casework, the nurse's office renovation bid has been reviewed, and a meeting was held with the recommended low bidder to confirm his inclusion of all items within the bid. After this meeting and checking of references, the bid awards for both buildings are included in this evening's board agenda for approval. And that is my bond report, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks, Jim. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.
Jim.
Dom, can you introduce number 8 on the agenda, public hearing?
Mary Ann, do we have to formally move to a public hearing?
Yes.
So you need to make a motion to move to a public hearing.
Like to make a motion to approve to move to a public hearing for amendments to the district safety plan.
Second.
Nicole with the motion, Linda second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So there were changes in New York State's legislation around what needs to be included in a district safety plan. The changes happened in the fall. The implementation is April 1. So we amended our district safety plan. It's been posted. The amendment has been posted on the website since February 1. The area that specifically that had to now be included was to reflect how continuity of operations would occur during a public health emergency. Sound familiar? So we basically documented much of what we're doing. The plan also kind of elaborates on the fact that what would occur has to be flexible based upon the nature of the health events. So that will be, that's basically in a nutshell what has been changed. It's on our website. A later agenda item is requesting the board to approve that to be adopted. And we'll basically publish it with the rest of our district.
Okay,
There were no public questions during the month of the posting.
okay, thank you. That brings us to good and welfare. Congratulations to Dan.
Before we move back into the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to move back into our regular Board of Education meeting.
Motion.
Segal and
Second.
Butch, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to good and welfare. Congratulations to Daniela Vernice, teacher at Chatterton, who got engaged to Greg Signorilli. Condolences to Brenda Gallagher, senior account clerk at district office, on the passing of her mother-in-law, Marlene Gallagher. Condolences to Janet Rader, typist clerk at Birch School, on the passing of her grandson, Liam McQuillan. And condolences to Lance Fowler, district maintainer, on the passing of his mother, Delia Cunningham. That brings us to our budget review. And it's a good opportunity for me to thank you, Ryan, for jumping right in and for the presentation you're going to do tonight.
Okay, so Ryan Butler, our new assistant superintendent for business, has been working on preparing our budget since before the day he actually arrived in the district. He worked with Sid Freifelder, our interim, to get us to this place. They've done a really nice job. I will say before he starts introducing the latest draft, that this is the latest draft, meaning that we will continue to work on this based upon the input the board has and based upon new information that comes about. We went into this with some things we want to achieve. And the primary thing we want to achieve is to establish a budget that restores services back to the same way they were, or the same levels that they were before the pandemic. So returning all of our faculty back to the slots that they were back in. It also would, the budget we're building would also allow us to maintain 5 additional classroom spots so that we can continue to spread kids out next year, because we do expect that that'll be a necessity. This budget does not include a full-blown separate remote program. We would seek to provide support. If that is something that's needed in the fall, we would seek to provide that service through more of a remoting into classrooms, similar to what's done in the Belmore Merritt Central High School District and many elementary classrooms throughout the county. So with those kind of assumptions, as we began to build the budget, and Ryan's going to give you a presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Palma, and thank you, Dr. Kaplan, for those kind words. I am just going to share my screen and bring up the presentation so everyone can see it. Okay, so this is the second budget meeting, the March meeting here. I want to present to you a revised tax levy limit calculation. We had some additional information related to our bond issues, so that you may see that 1.5 million in there. Those figures have now been refined. Now the bond sale has been completed, and this tax levy limit calculation was submitted up to New York State. We're showing now a 1.97 increase in the allowable tax levy limit. For an increase in dollar terms of $831,000. So this is the main driver of revenue for the school district. And as you'll see on the next slide, I'll go into a bit more detail on the total revenue projection, the total revenue portfolio of the district. So you'll see the tax levy limit calculation being reflected there at the very top, the 42 million. Additional revenues have been adjusted based on current trends. You'll note that the state aid figure there, the 6.9 million, is unchanged. That is per the governor's run, which was issued back in January. Typically, as Dr. Palma has mentioned in the past, that the legislative run, which usually comes out in the beginning of April, after the New York State legislature solidifies and approves their budget, there usually is a small, or traditionally, there is a small uptick in state aid. As of right now, they are still going through their motions. Hopefully, we will have that additional state aid, or basically that legislative run, to present to you for the next meeting on April 13th. Be that as it may, the governor's run remains the number that we will use going forward. And here, and the board, you have all these packets in front of you, but I just wanted to summarize what's happening here. The school district is a business of people. And as you see on the first line item, the salary and benefits line item makes up just a hair under 80% of the total school district budget. That accounts for projected salary increases and also the offsetting, the additional cost related to health benefits, ERS pension, TRS pension, and other FICA expenses at the back end of the budget. So that is largely the main driver of the budget there. Other items included contractual and BOSA services have increases to reflect current trends. I will also note that there is a difference on the interfund transfer and debt service lines. This is described board in one of your packets. This is simply a reclass of the previous debt to the district, the ban and the energy performance contract that is falling off, the new serial bond that was just solidified and completed last month. That payment is being reflected in the interfund transfer line item in general fund, because that will ultimately be paid out of the debt service fund. So that's why you see that delta there. The school district, the administration, and I want to thank also the building principals have been instrumental in helping me build this budget to present to you. The items that the district has most control over, you'll see are the materials and supply lines and other items at the bottom of that schedule. We are holding the line on those items in an effort to present a much more palatable budget to you. Compare the total projected expenditures at this point, and as Dr. Palma mentioned, this is a draft budget. We are still showing a difference down there at the bottom of your screen. There is still a lot more work that we need to do. And these are items that we are still looking at. We are hopeful for additional state aid, but we are still working through the rest of this budget to present something to you for adoption at the April meeting. And as a final summary, the calendar continues here. This is March 9. The April 13th meeting will be our budget adoption. We will have our mandatory budget hearing on May 4, and we'll conclude with the budget vote on May 18. With that, I'd love to take any questions you may have.
Ryan, could you just yeah. Before he takes any questions, I just want to suggest some paths from here. After just the summary, board members, you have a document entitled Major Movers of the 2021-22 budget. We probably should talk about that. You also have a line-by-line budget. You can determine if you do want to do a line-by-line tonight or not. What you'll see if we go into that is that most of the changes are sitting in this one page. The other thing that I want to point out is the red is almost $800,000. This budget is still under development. There are probably some other expenditures that will increase that number that we still have to finalize, such as BOSA's tuition costs and insurance and things like that. Then on the other side of it, we would look for places that we might reduce the number. But the other major thing I want to put out with you now and have you ponder for a while, and then we can get back to it, is the idea that my recommendation is that we utilize $500,000 from the fund balance, basically the district's savings account, to offset that money, because it really represents the cost of the 5 classrooms that we need for next year. And I am hoping, praying that the pandemic doesn't go into another school year beyond that we would have to repeat this. But I think it's an expenditure that we can predict will be necessary for next year. We set it from the savings account. It doesn't impact the taxpayers' rate of taxes now. It uses the money that's wisely been saved over the years. So that's something I just want to get out there. Now you can ponder it a little bit. I'll shut up in a second so that you can ask any questions about what's been presented. Then we could talk about where you want to go into the line items.
I have a question, Dr. Palmer. Question is
Go ahead,
on the
Butch.
the very first page of the tuition. I know we don't have anything for 2020. What was it the prior year? Because we're using just an arbitrary number of $100,000 and some of tuition and the other. I don't have the paper in front of me. I didn't get it. I'm sorry, but I just saw it on your presentation. And where do we get those numbers from?
Are you referring to the budget, the expense side or the revenue side?
Oh, the
Mr.
revenue side.
Revenue side. Yeah, the revenue side here, the summer school tuition is a consistent figure that I've seen the last couple of years. So I imagine that number would stay the same year to year.
There's more. So so it's a consistent. Last year when we didn't run the summer program,
Right.
the summer rec program, we didn't have the summer school tuitions. That's why it's zero in that budget.
Oh.
And then Brian went back to a number from prior years. Because
I just want to know what was the exact number. It was just an average number. That's what it was exactly, $100,000, or was it?
It was actually 99,000 and change when I saw
great.
it. Yeah.
That number right below is the same, just a zero to like I think $500,000 number. I don't have the paper in front of me.
That was a change to the day school tuition or tuition that we bill out to other districts.
Right.
We anticipate it was 500,000 in the current year. We do anticipate losing one student who's aging out, so that's why you see a reduction from 500 to in the current year to 400,000 in my projection for next year.
Okay, great. Can we do a line by line, Dr. Palmer? I think it's good if we do that, especially in this time, so we could maybe possibly find some savings or find something that we can help out with.
Sure. Before we move to the line by line, any other questions on these summary pieces?
No.
Okay. Ryan, are you able to put up the major movers one?
Yes, I can do that. Just bear with me 1 second.
Major movers right here. I'm talking out loud.
Can everybody see that?
A little bigger if you could.
I'm having a lot of trouble with my computer. I just can't see it. I'm using my phone and I just can't see it. I'm sorry.
So I'll describe some of it and then we can get into the budget piece. So when Ryan and I were going over this with Jill and Sal to kind of figure out what pops out of the line by line, there were a few things that we wanted to kind of group together so they would be somewhat sensible. And basically that's what we did. The first item you see, which is a $23,000 increase, it looks like a gigantic jump percentage-wise. Finance manager is our financial management package. Basically, they upgraded to the newest edition of it, which was more expensive. We also added the human resources or personnel module. so that we can do some more accurate tracking that we need to do on those items. So that's where that one came from. Ryan, you want to field the next pair?
Yeah, absolutely. So this current the prior year, we purchased an additional bus to replace one of our small buses in our inventory. That was reflected in the prior year. That one falls off next year's budget, and we're replacing it with a budget item for an F-350 rack truck. So this truck then would replace an existing vehicle that we have in our inventory as well. So there's no increase in our total vehicle profile. It's just replacing aging vehicles. So that's why those two items really offset each other, because they both affect our vehicles and our profile for the buildings and grounds and transportation line items.
And you'll probably all remember that a number of years ago, there was a less predictable system of buying high cost items. It kind of just would suddenly happen. And we committed to the idea of doing this more consistently. So keeping a placeholder for one of the higher cost items, like a bus in one year, a truck in another year. A number of years ago, we did the skid steer so that we can plow snow. And so we're trying to keep that going so we don't find ourselves in a position where all of our equipment is 25 years old and some future superintendent saying to you, they need $300,000 to replace everything at once. So this has been a process similar to the process we've done with things like desks and musical instruments to make it predictable that each year there's a steady flow.
And excuse me, going further down the list, BOCES services in the regular school setting, we have captured here additional costs related to additional pieces of software that we utilize. On the instructional side, there's no impact there. To the students' profile, the students' instructional, they still have the materials that they need, and the teachers still have the materials that they need. This is simply reflecting an increase in the licensing fees associated with those pieces of software. The next item, it's a bulk of items here, and I kind of captured all of them in a group, essentially, because they do partially offset each other. Essentially, I'm reclassing costs associated with some of our instructional staff to reclass them to their appropriate codes. We do have a lot of fluctuation in our staff in between grade levels, in between buildings. There are some instructional staff that do rotate between special education and regular education. So this item here captures some of those changes to be more consistent with what we're seeing on a regular basis.
So just think that whole block really kind of take it as a block, because
That's correct.
looking at, and I saw that, a big decrease in 4 through 6 TAs, but an increase in K through 3s. I realized that that's not really, and similarly, so they all play in together. And when the dust settles at the end of the summer and we know where everybody is, that gets reorganized to reflect where people are. But the total amount of money basically reflects the cost of all of our teaching assistants and aides together.
And quickly to round out the last couple of items here, we do anticipate a new placement in our special education tuition line item. So that cost is being reflected here. Furthermore, transportation, there is it looks like a small increase of only 2.2% in our transportation portfolio. We do have an open item with Guardian, which services the majority of our transportation portfolio. They are seeking their own reclass of the transportation that they are providing us, plus the CPI or consumer price index, which traditionally goes on top of an annual contract for purposes of renewal. So this is still an open item. There's still a lot of fluctuation happening here. It is an issue that I'm discussing with the other business officials as part of the component. So that is still an open item there. Hopefully it does not go any further than that increase. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, we do see a reclass in our debt service profile. Again, the BAN, which is the bond anticipation note, which the district had been carrying for about 3 years. And then the energy performance contract are helping offset the additional impact on the construction serial bond, which now, as I mentioned, is being paid out of the transfer to debt service fund, excuse me. So they are grouped together, and they should be thought of as almost an offsetting type of item. So in total, this schedule was something I put together with everyone just to really draw your eye to some of these changes and to also look at them in a group setting in a one-shot image versus going through several pages in your line-by-line budget. This helps bring everything into perspective.
I'd rather see line by line, not a group setting, just to get an idea what was grouped together. And I'm happy to come in and meet with you. That's what make it easier.
Butch, we can next go through the line by line.
Yeah.
So when we go, you'll see like the problem was for instance, this students with disability instructional salary for TAs is like 4 pages further away from the non-instructional aid page. So, but yes, I think there's only 9 pages of line by line, so we certainly can go through that. So Ryan, can you bring that up on the screen?
Yes.
I can't see it where I am, unfortunately.
Can I make a recommendation, Dr. Palmer, that you send that home to the board?
That was what we sent home this afternoon.
Was that the latest version?
Yep.
So we have that.
We have it.
Yeah,
We do have that. Yeah, but okay. Butch, is it going to be helpful to go through it now, or do you want to go in?
No, I'll go through it at home. I didn't go home yet. I'm still at work. That's why I just jumped on the meeting. I don't want to be late to the meeting.
Okay.
And
I
Butch,
will definitely go through.
we'll definitely go over it with you individually.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you for that, Butch.
Yeah, no, of course.
Okay. For those who can actually see it, does anybody have any questions on the first page?
I actually do. Board of Ed conferences, we don't even go to them anymore. I mean, I don't think, not that we don't go to them, there aren't conferences because of COVID. So do we anticipate that?
Actually, I was in the conference yesterday. The superintendent's conference was yesterday, and this morning. So of course, they cost a heck of a lot less because you're doing it online. But we do some conference stuff, and hopefully next year will be better. So we will keep up the PD and the conferences.
Then I don't have any other questions on page 1.
Anybody else for page 1? Okay, we can go to page 2. Ryan, are you moving us forward to page?
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have questions on page 2.
Anybody else? Page 2? Okay, we can go to page 3. And obviously, all of the zeros, there's nothing to talk about. So one of the reasons there's not that many questions.
Right. So one of the things that'll jump out at you probably is 1621-16099, the negative.
Yes.
That is a retirement of our maintainer, and his replacement is brand new, has a lower salary. The person who retired was with us for many years. That was PPE. You'll also see the $59,000 line. That's what was in. That was one of the first things on the major movers. That's the truck.
When are you you talking about? Never mind. I see it.
21, okay.
I see it.
Any other questions on this page, board members?
No.
Okay, we can go to the next page. Don, we seem to have a savings here from in-service training BOCES.
Right, just how we kind of move monies around, that we're using less of it there in service.
Okay. Any other questions on this page, board members?
No.
Okay, let's go to the next page.
As he's scrolling through, you see all those zero changes.
Yeah.
Basically, we kept all the supplies, equipment, material for the most part even.
Okay. I think we can go to the next page.
I do have a question. So if we scheduled field trips from last year, but they didn't go on field trips this year. So we're just keeping it the same. Okay, I got it.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions on this page, board members? Nope.
Are we on page 7?
Yes. Any questions on page 7?
No, it's very self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you. Page 8.
No. 'cause these are just-
Okay. And I think we could go to page 9, which is the last page, I believe.
Yep, fine with them.
Okay, and obviously, you know, if everybody continues to look this over, we can certainly continue to ask questions. So Ryan, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Obviously, a
Thank
lot
you.
to shave off of that. It's going to be very challenging.
Yeah,
Did you say Sagal?
There's a lot to shave off of that to,
I
you know,
I know.
it's going to be challenging with state aid cuts.
yeah. And, not be the gloom and doom person, but I do need to put this out there, that our state aid is built upon the concept that $1.4 million will be fed in from federal stimulus money into the state, into our hands. Because if that doesn't happen, up to $1.4 million could be cut from our state. So far, it looks much better than it did a couple months ago, because it looks like this is moving through the federal government, and we'll know, but I'd be much more comfortable if I got a new state aid run that said it's done.
And hopefully sooner rather than later. So, okay, that brings us to hearing of visitors on items in the superintendent's report.
So
I
we
don't-
have some emails, and I believe Mrs. Paul's comment is not on that, so we'll get her in a second.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve items 12A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Motion.
Motion
Second.
Gina, second, Butch, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to, I'd like to make a motion to approve items B 1, 2, 3, 4, C 1, D 1, 2, and 3, and E 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Oh, sorry, 6 as
Six.
well.
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Linda. Second.
Motion.
Thank you, Sagal. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and I would like to thank the anonymous donor for the guitar to the Birch School. So thank you very much for that.
And I would like to comment, one of the items in there was extending the teacher's contract 1 year. Thank you to the MFA and to the board for making a very reasonable decision that this was not a time to negotiate. The teachers basically rolled over the last year of their contract, which had nominal increases in it. So that will, you saw how tight the budget was. So it was good that we were not going to be in a year of difficult negotiations. So
Yeah.
we will retune in next year to look to further extend that.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that there's not enough appreciation. We could certainly show our teachers every year, but most certainly this year. So we're happy to have that agreement rolling forward. So thank you to all of our teachers who may be listening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
That brings us to our hearing of visitors. I know we have Ms. Paul. Ms. Paul, you have 3 minutes to offer a comment or a statement to the board. We're here to listen.
Okay, hi, thank you for having me and thank you for all you're doing for the children during COVID. We really appreciate it. I just had some things I want to bring up. I'll go quickly. I took notes so I wouldn't take so long. In 1975, we moved here. We live at Rugby and Dobson behind Birch School. Our children attended Birch School. When we moved here, you could see children playing on the grass during recess and gym class and playing there after school, and it was a safe place. And the neighbors, to keep its safe area, would be vigilant and call the police for suspicious activity like drinking, loitering, etc. Then all of a sudden they built a large garage there on the grass, which obstructed part of the view, but that's fine. Then the buses, and I know because of COVID, I understand the trailers and plows and other equipment were placed on the lawn. And then they applied green to the fence, and we could still see the trailers above the fence. You could still see them. Because they're taller. Our neighbors can't be as vigilant as we were because we cannot see into the yard. So the neighbors I was told that you would install surveillance cameras so the neighbors wouldn't have to call the police and that the police would be here within 5 minutes. Well, at the last board meeting, a neighbor next to the school said they had to call 2 times because one of them, the person was on the bus. And I'm wondering why did they have to call if we have the cameras, are the cameras working? What if they hadn't been home and somebody fell off the bus or whatever? Then I was taking a walk on February 21st, late afternoon. I noticed a truck pulled up and I thought it was odd near the garage and just stayed there, didn't do anything. I took a walk. When I came back, they were still there. The police didn't come, and are the cameras working? And then this is the worst one, and I hope nothing happened to school. On March 3rd at 3:29 a.m., there was my husband and I was sleeping. There was a loud explosion, really loud. It sounded like a bomb went off coming from the schoolyard. It could have been fireworks. We don't know. It sounded like gunshots. It was horrible. So we didn't know if somebody was damaging the schoolyard or what they were doing. We didn't call the police because we figured the cameras were going to call the police, and police didn't come, or the cameras working. And this, as a former teacher, a parent and a former teacher, I'd be really concerned about this, and this is something to look into. If you try this, if you walk into the driveway near the big garage on Dobson Avenue and make a sharp left right near the fence and turn toward the trailers, the cameras do not have a view of this area. Now, will the police come with during and after school? As a teacher, I'm concerned that somebody could come in near my classroom window or whatever, and after school also. It's a dangerous situation for our neighbors, especially the children. I'm afraid to go into the yard at night and to put out the garbage because I don't know who could be lurking in there. When we moved here, a girl's body was found in the schoolyard, Birch schoolyard. If these cameras were installed, would they have seen it? Would they have seen it and arrived? The cops arrived. It's obvious that these cameras aren't seeing the whole grass area, and it's a serious matter. The other thing I was concerned, the thing is, are the cameras working? They're obviously not contacting the police. You might want to look into another company or something for the safety of the people inside the school and out, because as a teacher, there were a lot of situations where we would want people to be able to see all the areas. I understand why the buses have to be, not the buses, I understand why the trailers have to be there, but the thing is, this is something to look into, and I looked at it today. This is just a suggestion. There's a driveway next, the smaller garage. Everybody familiar with the smaller garage? Okay, the smaller garage, there's a driveway next to it. And the snow plows, you could go up that driveway and the snow plows and the equipment and the buses can easily fit behind there. And if they fit behind there, they wouldn't be blocking anybody's view. You wouldn't need the green on the fence. You would, the trail is eventually gone from COVID. But I'm saying if you could fit the buses and everything right behind there and it wouldn't be in anybody's, side yard or front yard. You wouldn't be able to see them. The snow plows, the equipment and the buses could easily fit behind this garage to get them off the grass. And after the desks are back in the classrooms, if the trailers are still here, they could easily fit there too. And I just wonder how many people that are at this meeting right now would feel safe living across from or near this school under these circumstances. If the parents could see this too, the parents would be appalled because it's really not safe. So I
Okay,
just,
thank you.
something to look into, appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No.
No,
you.
thank you very much. And I'm sure the superintendent and Mr. O'Byrne will look into the cameras and where they reach. And
Yeah, it's important.
no, we appreciate that. And certainly your other suggestions as well. I'm sure, as you know, this has been an ongoing, challenging year for us.
Definitely.
We are doing the best that we can and we'll continue to do that. And
Yes.
we appreciate the communication. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That brings us to reports of Belmore Merrick Central High School District Board members. Nobody better to do that than the president of the Belmore Merrick Central High School District,
Thank
Gina
you.
Piskin.
Thank you, Nancy. So our last meeting was on March 3rd, and we had 5 National Merit Scholarship finalists, 2 from Kennedy, 2 from Mepham, and 1 from Calhoun. We're very proud of them. And they were at our board meeting, and we read a little about each of them. Future dates, Kennedy District College Planning Night is March 11th. March 23rd, it's for Mepham. March 24th is Kennedy Science Honor Society induction, and April 7th is our next board meeting. Our school district, the Central High School District, is top 10 for Regis High School diplomas on Long Island, and we are the only district that has 3 high schools in our district. Winter season lasted 27 days, which parents were allowed to attend, and the fall season sports started on 3/1. Student athletes continue to follow all safety protocols and get tested, I think, twice a week. Over 1,800 student athletes have been tested with a very, very low positivity rate. I think maybe 3, I'm not sure, but very low. Yes. What else is there? Our middle schools are having intramural sports. John DiTomaso wanted to thank all of the elementary schools. Jim O'Byrne, are you here? Thank you also, because he said that you've been very helpful. Of course, Mr. Palmer has also been very helpful to open up the elementary school so the kids from the middle school can go back to their home elementary schools and do their middle school sports, which has been fantastic. And that's one of the benefits of being in 2 districts that come together so well with each other. And we wanted to our PPS team has been reaching out to kids who have been struggling with all of the COVID and keeping in check everybody's mental health, which has been very important. So if anybody who has kids in high school and in the middle school, always check in on with them with their mental health. And of course, contact anybody if you feel that they need any help. The school is there to help you. And that is our update. Don't forget, our next meeting is April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you very much. That brings us to legislation.
Hi, so this month there was a bill that was passed by both houses in the state Senate, and it's regarding the number of signatures needed for the elections for the boards. So what happened was there was a legislation passed before that said it had to be the greater of 2 numbers, and that percentage was going to make it a large increase because we had the mail-in votes last year. So what the state legislature has done is has somewhat reversed that and brought it back to a lower number. We're expecting that the governor will sign that bill and that it will pass.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to other reports of board members. Anybody?
Nancy, before you get there,
Yes.
the governor did sign that bill. He signed it last week. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to any new business?
Yes, I have new business. I'm
Okay, Gina.
sorry. Dr. Palmer, I called you Mr. Palmer before. I
Okay.
don't know if you caught that. Did you catch that? Sorry about that.
My mother called me Dr. Palmer. Somebody else can call me whatever they want.
Gina, was that your new business?
That was my new business.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody, any old business?
I just have two new mentions I just want to mention. First of all, I just want to put out there that the summer recreation program will be happening at Chatterton this summer. The registration material has been put out. I believe people may have been responding already. Sal Shickey said yes. We were also running the summer special education program again this summer, also out of Chatterton. So those real positive pieces. And the last thing I want to just make a mention of is at the building level, the building administrators are beginning discussions with the teachers, particularly with the sixth grade, about end of year events. Jill, Sal, Ryan, and I, and the principals had discussions with the PTA on Monday, yesterday, I guess, seems so long ago, also about this. And everybody is actively moving ahead with the ideas that we want to have as normalized end of year events as possible as we approach the May, June, for the sixth graders in particular, but also for all the students. And I just want to assure the community of parents that while we will move in that direction, we will do it maintaining all the appropriate safety precautions. So we're going to have events as we move forward, but we're going to do it safe. And more will be coming as we go ahead.
Thank you for that. That will be great to get back to some of those things that we all enjoy. So thank you for that. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Are we going into executive session or we are?
Just a second.
Motion to adjourn into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
Sagal and Gina, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, everybody.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good